Hey, this is Big Guy DIY Robert coming to you with another repair video. Is this here? Let me turn the camera around, show you what we got going. So, this is a 2005 Tacoma that my son purchased, and we're going to be, or he's going to be putting a camper in the back so he can do some trips. So we have already replaced the rear shocks, and then I don't know if I could, we've added sumo springs in the rear end to support the camper. Now we're going to be doing new shocks in the front end of this. The brand we're using is Bilstein shocks. Are they 5100s? I think they're 5100s, but when I get the packaging, I'll show it. But what makes this different versus repairing my other brother, or my brother's pickup, which is a 2004, is this has an anti-sway bar in the front end, which is actually physically in the way of the shocks. So the bar has to be disconnected in order to get to the front strut. But one of the links that holds the anti-sway bar is rusted beyond the ability to remove it. So we have to cut it. We're installing new links to the anti-sway bar and then the new shocks. Here's the links that my son has purchased that we are replacing on this vehicle. So I'm going to set the camera up on time lapse for now, because we got to get this thing jacked up. We got to get both wheels off so we have access to the sway bar. And when we get to the point of taking the sway bar off, that's when I'll go back to regular video mode. So this is what we're replacing right here, is this linkage to the sway bar, anti-sway bar. The trouble is the distance between the shock and the sway bar is pretty tight because of the size of the springs. The springs may not fit in there. I think it can, but my son has already bought this part, so we might as well just change it out. So at least I'll have a new part in there. I think that's it. Yeah, so we're going to work on that. We're going to do the other side first, and then this side. So we got the passenger side off. Here to there. Here's the new one. Now here's the trick with these. Is they take an Allen wrench on the inside. That way this does not spin. But they do, this does not spin, but they do provide a flat spot. But they don't on the bottom. Or do they? Yeah, they do. So they've changed it. The old one, okay, it's not an OEM replacement, okay. The OEM has no flat spot, so we had to use vice grips to grab it. We got the nut out as far as we can, but then it just froze in place. So we ended up cutting it right here to get it out of the tie rod. Sway bar, I mean. So now we're gonna work on the other side. And can't really stick a camera in there because there's a lack of room. So I'm just going to go into time lapse as we try to remove this. So this is where we're at. We disconnected the through bolt here. You have to disconnect this part from here, your upper A-arm, and this is basically your rod to your lower A-arm. You have to disconnect that. So the trick to this is back the nut off, but don't take it completely off. Leave it on about halfway up to this hole. You can see there where the pin was through. Then with a mallet, you're going to whack this really hard so it will break away from here. Once it breaks away, then we take a bottle nose jack or bottle jack, and we jack up this part here, because what we're trying to do is apply pressure up. And as we do that, then it'll push your arm back up in here somewhat, so you can take the nut off completely. And then once you take the nut off, because there's going to be pressure with this thing is, there's pressure lifting it up, so you back the nut off completely off, and then this whole thing comes down. But to keep in mind, you have your ABS brake line here, which we disconnected from the top. There's a bracket up here, 10mm bracket. It holds it right here. We disconnected it, and I put it behind this hinge point of the upper A-arm. When we put it back up, it will come back forward over the top where it was originally. The sway bar, in order for it to get twisted up this high, you have to take this off on both sides of the front end. Not just one side. You got to do both sides. That's why we got both tires off. We're trying to do both shocks because this is completely in the way. Your bolts for the top here, you get two in the front and one dead center behind the back here. You will have almost little access. It's a 14mm nut. We had to take heat to it, to the nuts, using this. I forgot which one it is, but oh, there you go. So, map. So we heated up the nuts on the top here because they were rusted so badly. Heated those up, and then using this socket, focus. These sockets are for removing rounded nuts or nuts that are rusted in. And what it does is it bites into the head of the nut. And so we use this to break it loose. Once we broke it loose, then we were able to take just a regular ratchet, 14mm, using this end to get the nut off. When you are doing the third one, which is all the way behind this, and it's against this wall, you will be able to get this socket on, but you cannot put anything on the top here. You can't use a breaker bar or ratchet or anything. You have to use this with a crescent the crescent side of the wrench to turn this, to break it loose. Once it's loose, you will have to remove this because you're not going to be able to get the nut off with this still on it, because it runs up against the fender well in the back there. So you have only enough room for this to get that nut off. So we got those on. Now you're going to run into a problem, most likely depending on how badly it's rusted in here. What we used to break this loose, the spring assembly loose from the shock tower, we used this bar. Okay, we put it up between the spring and the rubber here, and then with your mallet you keep whacking the shit out of it, sorry for my language, but keep whacking the crap out of it to eventually get it to break loose, because it's rusted up into the shock tower. You're not just going to pull that off if it's been on here for a while like these are. So let me go to the other side and show you that. So you can see how I disconnected this. That allowed us to turn our sway bar up. We have not done the bottom bolt, and we have not done the top ones. I've sprayed them, but you can't even see the third one because it's behind here. And your access is pretty limited. Here's your ABS cable going up. You can see it's a lot of stress sitting on there, so you got to be careful not to push this down too much. I'm going to have to change where it is because right now it's in front. I want to go behind this joint with it. It'll give me a little more play. But yeah, heat these up first, then try breaking them loose. That's the only way you're going to get them rusted off. And then you can see how tight it is here. This is where we put that breaker bar in, hammered it in there in order to break this loose from the shock tower. So right now it's time for a little break. I think we've been trying to get this shock off now for a good hour and a half, 2 hours total time. This is one of the hardest jobs I've ever had to do for replacing shocks. So you gotta be patient. You gotta be patient on this one, especially with all the rust. I mean, overall the truck is in great condition, but the guts of the thing here, he's gonna have to replace some parts soon down the road, especially the hub assembly that holds the hub and all. I would replace that just because the amount of rust. Replace the A-arms, put in new A-arms with new bushings. But anyways, this is about the shock. So one shock is about to be pulled out, and then I'll show you how we compress the spring. One thing I forgot to show you, that's a bottle jack, and that's what I'm using to push up on the bottom in order to disconnect this arm from here. Oh, we have to use a board here in order to push the lower A-arm down so the pressure of it's not against the bottom of the shock. So that's what he's doing now. So now the shock drops. Will it fit through down there? Or do you have to come up? I think go up and to the right.
Oh, I got it stuck.
You wedged it in there, huh?
You want to help me out?
Yeah, let me get to your right side. Let me get to your right side. I can move that board.
I kind of wedged the board in there a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh.
All right. Wiggle it around.
Spin it out. There we go. Finally.
Ta-da! So let's see the top of that. Look at all that rust. Wow.
Trying to see if we can get this.
That's, we may end up just replacing all this hardware in the top
Yeah.
somehow. Yeah, I'm just surprised it doesn't come with it. We'll have to look into that.
Well,
Because your new shock, does it even come with the bottom plate?
it does.
Oh, it does.
So, like, the new shock is the shock, the bottom plate, these bushings up here, but not this plate.
Not the mount plate.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's put it on the bench and take it apart.
I'm gonna well, you can do as much or as little as you want while I'm drawing.
Yep.
But I'll find out if I can get this top piece.
Okay.
I'm gonna shower, and then make sure when I leave I don't forget these nuts here,
Okay.
just so I can at least bring them with me. Yeah, because the replacement one came with this nut, so whatever happens to this nut we don't have to worry about.
Okay.
And it should, I mean, we can look at the hardware bag real quick.
All right, what I'm installing, these are spring compressors. Where did I get them? I got them at Harbor Freight. And they've been very good to me. I don't know how many pairs of springs I've done, but it's definitely more than a dozen springs.
So we have the bottom collar, this bushing, maybe a washer. See, I don't know where this.
This rubber part here. Oh, that's not
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's not it. But I have two washers here. I don't know where.
Yeah, one goes there. And then there's another one, I think, on the, I don't know, I think it's underneath here. Well, I'll know once I disassemble it. But I think it's supposed to be under here.
Yeah.
So, alright, get started.
I'm gonna go show.
Alright, when you're using a spring compressor, you have to go back and forth between each part to compress the spring. Don't do one side really tight and then do the other side. You just got to keep going back and forth on this. See if we can get this top one to break. If it's this top nut itself, let's see if I can see it in the camera. Yep. This top nut itself, there is a flat side here. So in order to get this off, I'm going to see if I can break it with my pneumatic gun to get it to break loose. But we have to use a flat, a wrench here while we turn the bottom. There's really no other way to do that. Pain in the rear, but it is what it is. Yeah, I got a feeling I may end up cutting this off. Meaning cutting the nut off. Look at that. Just what I said. Just broke the sucker. Alright, well, guess what we're doing today? Well, I guess we're at a stopping point for today until I get a new one. All right, so we're back. So what happened is the tip of this hook snapped right off, and it's not something you can weld. It's junk. So this goes in my recycle bin. So I ran to O'Reilly's and just pick up a new set. All you can do. These are a little different design. This is kind of clever how it locks onto the spring, top and bottom. So I guess that depends on the size of the spring too, for it to lock on. So it doesn't go on, I'll make it go on. So again, when you compress springs, you want to be sure your compressor or your spring tool for compressing your springs is even on both sides. You don't have one here and then one here. It has to be both sides so you're evenly compressing the spring. So let's try this again. Take two. Well, looks like we're going to have to heat this one up. So because of the severity of rust on here and the trouble of getting parts taken off, my son's gone out and bought this entire shock mount on the top. So the new kit, here's your part number. See what it comes with. So we got the new bolts on top, or new nuts on top. Already comes with the rubber. Comes with the two caps. Because I think the cap sits here. Let's see where the other one is. Yeah. There's a cap inside. And then you have a cap that sits on the outside. So, take our spring off. Throw this into the barrel. So you bought the 4600s. That's your part number there. All right, so I can put the new shock back into this vise, but what I just do is I wrap a rag around it just so I don't scratch the paint up so badly. I don't crank my vise on it, but I just make it snug. This has to come off because right here at the bottom there is this piece has to be installed. That's what your spring sits on. And there's actually you can see here, the little bend in there, that's the seat. So that's where your coil sits on. And that is this part here. Drop that on. Put this in. So actually, before I put any of this on, I'm going to put anti-seize on. That's anti-seize.
Was it pretty easy?
Yeah, well, yeah, kind of, sort of, in a way. Well, there we go.
Nice.
So there's anti-seize underneath here because this rust actually will rust to the boot.
Yeah.
It makes it very difficult to get it off.
Yeah.
So
We're going to put anti-seize around here too.
Yeah, anti-seize in the top part as we reinstall this.
We can probably put it back in now.
Yep. Let's do that. Let's reinstall.
Then we can go have fun on the other side.
Oh, God, I'm not looking forward to this one. All right.
Are you going to grab the anti-seize? Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I got the anti-seize.
I already got it all over my head.
Alright, we're gonna...
Are my black gloves to your left? By chance?
No.
Actually, I see them. They're on top of that tire, right to your left. Thank you.
Camera's on.
You think a little anti-seize around the seal down here too?
Yes, inside there, definitely. Because it's also a lubricant.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Oh, the bolt rotate around it.
got the block of wood or...
Right now, it's going up just fine.
Alright, you have the nut. They get one on top.
How do I rotate this?
You have to do, we'll have to put a pry bar in there and turn it. So just put the top in. Don't worry about the alignment of the bottom.
Okay.
We can realign that. Where are the nuts?
They're right between my feet.
Thought you were gonna say they're between your legs. Oh, did you put anti-seize on top here?
No, not on top.
Alright, hang on. I'm gonna get one in.
Drifted all over my arm.
Whoop your head. Sorry.
So you get on my head too?
Well, you moved your head into me. No.
Oh, I was thinking it drifted on my arm.
So get the fattest screwdriver I have. Phillips head. And then that we'll use to turn the bottom. Yeah, but wait, you want to get the top done first.
Oh, I thought you had.
No, I did the anti-seize on all of them.
Alright, I got all of them on.
Alright, you want to tighten it? I can tighten them.
Do we have... I guess we can get this socket in on the front too, and then...
Yeah.
the back one. It's just gonna be a pain.
Well, I can get.
Oh yeah, it's a 14 millimeter actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought it was 17, and we need to use the.
So I'll do the back one first. No, it's different. Probably a 15.
I think 14's your largest ratchet wrench.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, flathead. Put it in there, turn it. A little more. Alright. Alright, now the bolt. Put some
Grease on it.
Yep. Put it on your, I think it's on your side.
I don't think so. It's underneath.
Oh. So the bolt has to come from the right going to the left.
Yes.
No, I'm letting you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the head of the bolt came from the rear of the vehicle.
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see if I can
Go ahead,
lift this up.
Up, down. Good, we're in.
And then washer.
Alright, what?
Then what? 19 millimeter. This on the. Oh, there's already a 19 on here.
So just put the breaker bar on, yeah. And then the air. Attach. Fruit.
Tighten it by finger so don't. Yeah.
That's it. All right.
We can't
I know,
assemble
we
it all
can't.
because
Yep.
this has to come
Yep.
down before.
Before we do anything else.
Yeah.
So there we go. All reassembled. And we did the anti-seize on everything because, not that we plan on changing the shocks out again, but should there ever be a scenario where, say, a shock fails and we got to remove it, we will be able to because it anti-seize in there to prevent any rusting from going on, taking place. So this whole assembly we cannot put back together yet because we have to do the other side. This has to remain unassembled until we finish the other side. So we're going to stop this here at the moment and we're going to put the other side together. Or actually we got to pull the shock, take it apart and put it back together. And we're going to start reassembling the A-arm and the sway bar. So the first thing we got to do, well obviously the first thing we got to do is we got to tighten the bolt down here for the shock. The second is we're going to put the bottlenose jack underneath here and we're going to lift this whole assembly up, because while this is being lifted up I have to reach up here and pull this down so this here will go into this hole. You can't lift this assembly up into that, it won't work because of the tension between the two. So you ready? Next to the A-arm.
Alright. Well, that and getting this. We need to push this around.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I need you to jack it up and push it.
Yeah,
back.
I'm going to. Get the nut for that. Ready? Go. All right, go. Stop. Let go. Let go. All right, want me to pull down on it?
You can if you want to.
Yeah, I'll pull down on it. You tighten it. You ready?
Yeah. All right. I don't think it was that tight last time.
You want it tighter? Or?
Actually, I can probably get it one more. Alright, where's...
It was right there on the rug. So what we're reinstalling is a clip. It's like a cotter pin in there after we get the nut tightened up there. We threw some anti-seize on there. Now we're going to retighten the bracket that holds the ABS line on top of the A-arm. Okay, next is the linkage for the sway bar attached to here.
I'm gonna lower this.
All right, go ahead. No, the handle, you got, yeah, you got to turn the metal part. You want the chair? Or you want the block of wood?
Let's take the chair. We might need to use a block of wood to push it down.
Down or up?
Down, because I can't get in on the angle on that right now. There you go. Where is it? I may have it backwards.
Want to push down on it?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yeah. So I think it is longer this way. And so this is the bottom.
All right.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
So the longer thread goes on the top and the shorter thread goes on the bottom.
Let's get this back.
As I put that on, then I can push down on it.
Well, no, this is a ball joint, so I should be able to.
Oh, okay.
And then, can you hand me that 1/2-inch ratchet? 1/2 inch. That's right in your foot, actually.
Oh.
I'm spinning already.
You can bring. Oh, there's the Allen keys. So because there's a ball joint here, as he tightens the nut on the back side, that ball joint's turning. So on these, you have to put an Allen wrench key into the back side, and that'll hold the ball joint from spinning as he turns the nut. Hard to see from this angle, but when he does the further one up on the top, you'll see better.
Is he able to hold that Allen wrench by chance?
Yep.
That's good. Let's get on this one.
Yeah, it didn't spin.
I might need. I'll probably have to use the. Or maybe it'll get tight enough where I don't even have to use the Allen key.
Yeah.
I can't do it like that. So yeah, let's just try this one again.
Alright. So, it's installed. Ta-da!
Alright, time to put tires on.
Yep. Let me close this out. So, that was a PIA. Some of you know what that abbreviation stands for. Definitely changing the front struts on a 2005 Tacoma. Takes 2 people. Plan a good day for doing it if your bolts are rusted like ours are. Thing we ran into is because we bought the new shock tower. What do they call it? Shock tower assembly? Shock tower, the top, the KYBs. Strut mounts. Okay, because the strut mounts for KYBs, aftermarket, there was a difference in the type of washers being used and the thickness of the rubber bumpers. And so one shock, we are able on the top part do a washer, a rubber bumper, a washer, and then a nut. On the other side, we couldn't get a washer in. So we ended up just doing the rubber mount, washer, and then the nut, which is fine. It still works. The washer is just taking up space in this situation. But because the thickness of the different washers from either from Bilstein or from KYB created a problem with spacing. But we got the washers in where they need to be, and that's most important. But I'm surprised how much you have to disassemble to get to these struts, to reassemble the struts. It's actually, this was one of the more difficult ones I got to do. So my next video coming up will be this truck, 2014 F-150. This one's also getting new shocks all the way around, and I'll do the video on this one. And it's also getting sumo springs in the rear end for towing. So this is Big Guy DIY signing off. Give me a thumbs up if this was helpful. Ask any questions. Put them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best. And don't forget to subscribe. It makes me happy when I see that add up a little, so people are watching and I am helping people out. I like to see those comments because that's the whole point of the videos, is to be able to show people how to do this and help them out. So, Big Guy DIY signing off. Have a good one.